Hey now, everybody. Welcome to the Pucknologists here on Teal Town, USA. Episode 88 this time, coming at you. Week 15 in the books for the NHL. Joining me, as always, Rocket Backhander.
It's, what show did you say it was? Number 88?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, wait. What? And we're back!
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, somebody confirm that. Somebody confirm it. All right, so
yeah, I've got it open, so I'll wait and see.
So, anywho, interesting start to the program. Never seen this one before. Hey, it's like, you know what's so great about this? It's like we had the issues with YouTube over the holidays, and let's just say it's lingering. But anyway, back to where we were. So, I'm joined with Rocket Backhander.
Yay, Rocket Backhander. How you doing, folks?
Hockey Jerk.
And so my third star of the week is... Oh, wait, sorry, that's an old shtick. Hockey_Jerk. How we all doing today? I got my Coca-Cola with me. No free ads, so I'm ready to go.
Nice. So, week 15 is in the books. Yay. Sharks go 2-1 versus St. Louis, Columbus, and Dallas. Over the last 10 games, 5-3-2, 7 points out of a wild card spot. 6 points, they're okay. 7 points, it's completely over. Forget it. But I'll let Jerk talk about that in a little bit.
Do the Sharks officially resign from the season then?
Oh, absolutely.
They're not even in the league anymore.
Yeah. Dude, didn't they drop down to the ECHL or something? No?
They moved the whole team to Seattle.
Just keeping the place warm for you. So at St. Louis, it's a 3-1 loss. This sucks because we know. But anyway, Dell looked decent. Not fantastic, but did look decent. Sharks goals coming on special teams. 5-on-5 would have been nice, whatever. Timo on the power play. EK65 gets credit for a shorthanded goal scored by O'Reilly. That was fun. But early in the second period, Couture awkwardly slams into the boards, needs help off, doesn't return, leaves in a walking boot. We'll get to that in a little bit. And this one, it's, Binnington is just a badass goalie, and this is a great team right now in St. Louis, so what are you going to do? Versus Columbus, the BJs come in with only one loss in their last 15 games, of course, courtesy of San Jose. Sharks hand them another loss, 3-1. LeBanc gets a goal and an assist. Jumbo scores his second of the season on the power play, and Dell throws up a .968. Then versus Dallas, Pavelski returns. Marleau 1700th game. Sharks win 2-1 over the Stars. Dell looks amazing, and with a .964. Power play looking solid so far. 5 for 13 in 2020. But now we're back to the problem of 5-on-5 woes. This is something like Ian Reed talked about before. You plug one hole, another one sprouts over here. But there it is. That's what happened. So, Rocket, over the course of the week of hockey, your hat trick of good and bad?
Oh, my hat trick of good and bad. Okay, so I would have to say... all right, I'm just gonna get the bad stuff out of the way first because I don't want to do that. Okay, it's bad stuff. Logan in a boot. Boo. There's a snake in Logan's boot. These were not well aside from Dallas. Dallas, I don't think is a very strong team this season. But I mean, Columbus is all right, and St. Louis. I mean, hey, they're probably one of the few teams within recent memory, at least since I've been watching the sport, that. They don't seem to be suffering too much of a cup hangover. Not yet, anyway. I mean, we haven't even hit All-Star break, so they might have some really gnarly injuries piled up at the end of the regular season that we don't see. Who knows? But so far, they're still running on some pretty big mojo. And Binnington is not an easy goalie to knock over. So I think the Dallas...
You're saying we need to run Binnington more? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that video coach did a good job of telling everybody what to look for. And I don't, maybe the flight attendant on the Blues' plane gave him the wrong fruit snacks. We just got lucky. You know what I mean? Like
roll-ups, damn it. I said roll-ups. No,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I would say oh God, I was on the bad. Yeah, like Logan in a boot, Logan in a boot, Logan in a damn boot. Those are my three bad. So much so that I'm not even going to address Erik Karlsson this week. And then my good ones are, like I said, St. Louis is a tough team to beat, so they're beating the tough teams, which is nice. The Dallas, I think it was nice of the Sharks fans to stay so classy with like a 2-minute standing ovation for Pavs when he returned. That was nice.
Easy.
And then Aaron Dell, easily like one of the brightest spots of this team so far.
Hey now.
I'm sorry, I ramble.
It's all good. Jerkman.
All right, so here's my hat trick. Up first, we got the good, which has been the defense and the goaltending. I thought Aaron Dell has just been locked in ever since he became the number one goalie. He's making the saves that he needs to make, which is obviously good, but he's also making the saves that he probably shouldn't make, which is even better. And he's giving the Sharks legitimately a chance to win every single night. And on that same kind of, idea, if you will, I thought the defense has been really, really good. Obviously, Vlasic, Ferraro, Šimek, Dylan, all those guys have kept things locked down very well. They're playing physical, but they're not letting it get out of hand, and they're doing a really good job at keeping the puck away from Aaron Dell. And then obviously Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns have both been making a lot of offense happen. So the defense, 1 through 6, I thought has played very well all the way through, and nothing's really stood out to me, either goaltending or defense, that's been egregiously bad the last week. My bad, the second part of my hat trick, I'm going to go with Rocket here. Obviously Couture in a walking boot, but I think just in general as well, the lack of scoring, we'll say. I mean, the Sharks have won games, and it's our philosophy that you never complain about a win, but I would feel a lot better if that win against Dallas was 3-1 instead of 2-1. And the same thing, I mean, you'd like to see, even if the Sharks absolutely have to lose against St. Louis, you'd still like them to have more than one goal. And then the third part of my hat trick, I am unsure. Are we going to have a 30-goal scorer this year? Because, like, Evander Kane has 18, and it's like that's the highest right now. And it's like, things can change, but it's like,
Doesn't
I
he
don't
have
know.
2 hat tricks this season or something like that?
Yo,
Yeah.
he does. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So he's having a great season.
yeah, and
If we're looking for more goals, we could perhaps trade for Pekka Rinne.
and I do want to say your quick financial update, if you will. The Sharks currently have $5.1 million in trade deadline cap space. So we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back.
Hey,
We'll see.
I'm available, Sharks.
Hey now.
On February 24th, we'll be having a conversation.
Yes, we will.
I will sign all of the autographs for free for you guys if that happens.
In 5 starts, Dell has dropped his goals against by almost 40 points, up to save percentage by 20. So Nabby, look forward to a little bonus, a little something in your paycheck. My I guess hat trick of good is, of course, Dell, and Dell. You have to appreciate that. But the bad part, 5-on-5 scoring. It's all the same stuff. Although, God, I don't know who created this sign that says, missing, and it's a photo of Pavs, and it says last seen wearing ugly green sweater, reward 11.5 million. Dude, you're my hero for that sign. I love that sign.
Savage.
And we'll get into all that in a little bit. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too quickly. What up?
I do need to ask Jerk about something that he said earlier, and he just slid it in there, and I wasn't sure if I. So, Jerk.
Yes.
You had mentioned something about Dell and the starting goalie position that he now has. Is that official, or is that just basically at this point everybody's like, yeah?
So the answer to your question is yes. It's I see it as being official because Dell has started 5 of the last 6 games, and to my recollection, only one of those instances hasn't been a back-to-back. Yes, it was. It was Columbus and the Capitals. Yeah. I would say obviously he is a starter, and I think too what kind of did it in was as good as Jones played against Washington, his meltdown in the last minute of the third period, I think kind of did it in because since that meltdown, it's been Dell the last 3 games. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's official in that sense where he's consistently been called upon, even not in a back-to-back, but I think it's also kind of like okay, that's how it is, just because, I mean,
What else are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am for it. I mean, I'm gonna get on a pedestal here really quick, but like we all spoke last season about how Aaron Dell is.
It's called the soapbox.
You know what, AJ? Have you ever known me to go with the societal norms? It's 2020. I can be different. So we all spoke last year about how Aaron Dell was like the worst backup goalie in the league, and deservedly so. I mean, it was just
the numbers
not great.
bore that out, but
Yes. But let's also talk about how the previous season, Aaron Dell was the best backup in the league, right?
True. Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that I was right and everybody was wrong, because I was right there with everybody in saying he was awful last year. But it kind of makes me think, okay, maybe last year was just kind of a weird moment and he's sort of back to where he actually is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into too outside of the rink, but they're like well-known personal stuff as well, so that can obviously contribute to it. So who knows?
Well, I mean, things again, you look at the injury to Couture and all this, and you're just sitting there going, oh, the Sharks are just hosed. But coming into 2020, I mean, I don't think that it's been horrible. You win in overtime versus Pittsburgh. You beat Columbus, who were on a great run. You've got the overtime loss that should have been a victory. If Goody clears out the garbage when there was about a minute left, maybe that game goes differently. If Jones can hug the post a little tighter, something going on. Either way, I kind of look at that Washington game as a little bit of an anomaly, similarly to like Markstrom getting his ass handed to him a couple days ago by Tampa. Well,
and that's the thing too, is everybody's going to fall apart. It's just a matter of not letting it define you.
Yeah. So obviously you're not putting that down as a win. I mean, maybe if you've got to call them for moral victories, okay, sure. But either way, very close. And then, you got the loss with St. Louis, but St. Louis is just a really solid team. And the fact that you took Washington that far at that point, best team in the league, I think is something, again, another one for moral victory. And then 2, back-to-back wins. And starting next week, you got a nice little road trip here that really could, 2 of them, Arizona, Vancouver. You got 2 in your division, guys ahead of you. These are huge. And Colorado. That's a nice stretch of games leading into the break that is going to show the Sharks, are we, can we get over this hump? Can we try to get that wild card spot or something? Or are we going to have an epic collapse?
See, that's what I was saying earlier about how somebody wrote an article about how it was like, Logan Couture is out for the season. Sharks may as well just call it a day. And that made me really upset because, like I said, when I posted it on Twitter, I said, I'm not here to pump anybody's tires, but I'm also not here to slash them either. And until this team is mathematically eliminated from playoffs, they're still in it. And to suggest that because one member of the team is missing, that the entire season is over is, I think it flies in the face of everything that speaks to the spirit of hockey. Like, even from like a journalism standpoint, that attitude is not hockey. That's not a hockey attitude. That might be, that might be the Pistons attitude. That might be the Yankees attitude, but that's not going to be the Sharks attitude. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's other sports maybe, but not hockey. And I was really I was deeply hurt and offended. Like, my teal tinted visor came on down hard when I saw that. And I was like, that's what I heard.
You are not dead when you're dying. You're dead when you're dead.
Bingo.
Chip in a chair, baby. A chip in a chair. That's all you need to stay in the game.
Can of corn. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we're talking about Dell having these great games. He's, again, his numbers in 2020 have just been incredible. So I think the question is, do we ever see Jones again? Ever? Like, the Sharks don't play back-to-back until the middle of February. So, and
Just roll with what's hot.
I was going to say, roll with what's hot. The other thing being, I can't remember if it was in The Athletic or something, but I do remember seeing an article maybe a month, 2 months ago that basically said coaches need to stop with the whole, well, it's back-to-back, so, you got to give your, one goalie goes one night, one goalie goes the other one. Why? Why can't the same guy go back-to-back? Gotta lose that mindset a little bit. So if the Sharks do not make the playoffs, does the Couture injury give Wilson a little bit of an excuse to hand over to Hasso Jerk?
No, not at all, because things were bad. Things were bad before Couture went down, right? And this season, it's the same. It's the same as 14-15 with the Sharks, but it's also, if you're familiar with Tampa Bay, they're one of the pillars of the league, but they had a god-awful season 3 years ago where they missed the playoffs and it was all bad news Bears. But these seasons are anomalies, like I said, everybody's going to stumble. It's just a matter of if you let it define you or not. And clearly, the last time the Sharks stumbled, they turned around, they made the bad parts of their roster better, and they went to the Stanley Cup final. So if the Sharks do miss the playoffs, you can't freak out and, oh my God, we had one bad year, even though our roster is actually pretty good, so we're going to get rid of everybody. You got to address the problem and go back to work. That's all you can do. I mean, the goal is not to make the playoffs. The goal is to win the Stanley Cup, and you don't win the Stanley Cup by making your team worse.
Really?
At last check.
My mind is blown. Have you talked to Detroit about that?
Detroit is
oh man.
Hey, they got their 12th win. It's
God.
January.
Okay, here, I got a bet for you in January. Who ends up with more? Kane, more goals, Detroit, more wins. What number's higher at the end of the season?
Kane's goals, 100%.
Yeah, Kane's goals.
If we extrapolate this, that's my new favorite word lately. If we extrapolate that win pace over an 82-game season, the Red Wings are on pace for 21 wins. And as we talked about earlier, Kane's already got 18 goals. So
All right. I'll take the under on this. I'll go with Detroit.
I was going to say, let's also take into
Just to
account
make it interesting.
Hockey Jerk did say that Bodker would hit 20 goals. We all know what happened there. But anyway.
There was no reason to think he wouldn't.
I absolutely agree with you, except that I just knew it wasn't going to happen.
I'm not telling you it's true. I'm just telling you I'm right.
Yeah, I don't know it for a fact. I just know that it's true. So obviously with the Couture injury, Hurdle slots in for Logan at the All-Star Game. That should be fun. It's going to be I like the comments that came out from Hurdle regarding that, where he basically said, like, oh, for sure, I'm going to have to talk to the guys and see what's going on and make sure I don't try too hard, but not try hard enough. And, because it's like he doesn't want to be the one guy that's out there giving it 110% when everybody else, let's be honest, is half-assing it, just having a good time.
If he doesn't go between the legs, I'm not watching.
I think it could be a fun game just to see, like, everybody looking at Hurdle just going, okay, dude, you're like at a 10, we need you like at a 6, okay? Like, you're a little too amped up, bro. Go get on the bike for like 10 minutes. Work some of that nervous energy off. Let's get to my favorite whipping boy. Look, I'm not an Erik Karlsson fan. People know this. But I just want to point out he didn't. I don't think I didn't think he did. And the only reason why I'm saying this, okay, I get that. And that's all day. It's he's on a 5-game point streak or whatever. Well, during that time, how many goals was he responsible going the other way? And I'm not saying he was responsible for any. I'm just saying over the course of it, we see times where it's like, oh, this guy's worth all this money, blah blah blah, and then you see him parked in front of the net with the puck sitting behind Jones or Dell or whoever, and blah blah blah. Anyway, my whole point of this is, yes, he is my favorite whipping boy right now because a lot of his game I'm not a big fan of. However, I'm not the only one to say this. Bret Hedican, live on the broadcast, straight up said Erik Karlsson with 2 horrible turnovers on that shift. So I just think it's funny. When I tweet that out on Twitter, everyone's, oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, AJ, blah, 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 blah. Hedican puts it out. That's an interesting take that Hedican had. So it's just like, F you.
It's
AO in the
because
chat.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, so AON2345. So EK65 is so good that he's even responsible for other teams' point streaks.
I like it.
Beautiful. Good job.
I like it. But you get what I'm saying. It's just that, do I think he's worth $11.5 million? No. Are there plenty of people who do? Yes. And in 8 years' time, we'll all find out who was right and who was wrong. It'll be, or 7.5, I guess. But it'll be a fun road to follow. Again, and it's not him specifically. It's just the whole idea of putting all that money on the blue line, and then when you have no forward depth, you're going, I got no money. I can't do anything. The cap, what do we do?
I don't know. I have to say, I do think that his value is currently at that amount. Will his next contract be anywhere remotely near that, or will he ever have another deal anywhere near that?
Another contract. This is his last contract.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. See, that's my point. Is that it's just downhill from here for him, regardless, unless he scores 3 goals and has 12 assists every single game.
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
You think that EK is going to be like the next Lidstrom or Chelios or something and play till he's 44? You're going to be Zdeno Chara?
I'm not saying
walk across the street and get hit by a bus, and they put him in some sort of hyperbaric chamber, and he comes out 10 years younger and 50 years stronger. And next thing you know, the older he gets, the better he gets. He's 85 out here with a Yager mullet, just beating the crap out of everybody. We don't know.
I'm not saying I think it. I'm just saying that it could.
All right.
Because you never, and nothing is, nothing is absolute, right? Like Rocket said, he could get hit by a bus tomorrow, but at the same time, he could win the Norris Trophy next year. You know what I mean? Nothing is absolute.
That would be a hell of a turnaround for him.
And here's my point. So you would expect that a guy who is the highest paid defenseman in the league, if he's signing an 8-year deal, you would hope that at least half of that year, or during the course of half of that contract, he would challenge for the Norris. Is that out of line to expect something like that?
Not at all. Oh. But we're also halfway through year 1 of 8.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, okay, he's nowhere near Norris this year. Say that he has a bad year next year as well. Again, it's that whole idea of when you say something at one particular point in time, it's, oh, you don't know anything, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 years later, and it's still the same, and now it's kind of like, well, okay, he's not, you know what I mean? When is it okay to finally say something?
I think it's okay to finally say something when it's multiple years of the same thing.
Okay, then. I like that. That's good. We'll talk to you in 2 years about this.
Which is why that first year of Bodker, I was like, it's a tough year, new place, he's going to come back. And then that second year, he came back a little bit, but not all the way. And it's like, all right, what the hell is this guy doing on this team? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, the thing he is known for the most wearing a Sharks jersey is injuring Jumbo.
Well, if it all does really go downhill with EK65, we can always just think back to those 8 weeks that we had last season.
Actually, it was
6, wasn't it?
11 weeks. So.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh, sorry. 11 weeks.
Can we talk about something else? I'm so sick of talking about it.
All right. So with that, if you'd like to hear more about that, make sure to follow us on social media on all our channels.
If you want to hear me punch things,
yes.
Discord.
And if you ever miss one of the shows, we're on all your favorite podcatchers and yada, yada, yada. So let's talk about something else. I don't know why it took so goddamn long to do it, but they're finally here, everyone. The All-Star Jersey.
Yay.
Yay. Yay. Yay. All right, so let's just talk about this. We'll show you the St. Louis one, of course, from the start, since it's their party this year. What do we think, Rocket?
I really like them. from a style standpoint, I posted about this on Twitter too, about how like the old school stripes across the chest I really find appealing because you see them in so many old time hockey. Like that configuration is on so many old time hockey sweaters that you don't really see anymore. So it's sort of a nod to the nostalgia of the league. But then to have, like last year, the big problem was like, it was just black and white, and there was no color. So I do like that they left the logos in a little bit more of a color format with the gray or white background. I think it's really clean, really classy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally liking what you're pointing out with the color, that at least, last year was so bland with everything being monochrome. Would have been nice to have a hint of color. So somebody literally took that comment to heart and said, okay, we're going to give you a hint of color. So we're just going to feature the primary color from each team. And okay, that works on some. When the team uses a deep color, like a New York or a St. Louis, where they have a deep primary color, I think it works. Teams like San Jose, I don't know that this works. In teams like the Penguins, you guys got hosed.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
Oh, I think those are abominable. Though the Predators got hosed. The ones that use the lighter colors, man, these are hard to look at, jerk.
That's the point, though. It's not supposed to be like the current jerseys they wear. It's supposed to be a theme or a style. You know what I mean? And if it was like if all but one team had the correct color and then one was like randomly done, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But the fact that there's multiple teams with kind of like a tweak on their color, I think it's a cool little style. I like what Rocket said about the stripes going across, where it's kind of that old timey vibe, though. You know what I mean?
Well, it's based on a musical staff.
Well, I was gonna say I also read that it was based on sheet music.
I get it.
Yeah, which I think is cool as well. And so I like it in that respect. Shout out to the NHL for also listening to people's complaints, because everybody bitched about no color. So turn around and we got color. So I think that's a huge win there.
And you look at it, obviously the same. It works really cute for the Blues because part of their logo is a musical note, and so you put it on a staff. It makes sense.
And I'm not very keen on the patch placement. I think it should be on the top of the shoulder, like it is every other special event. I'm not super fun. I don't think the patch on the arm thing is too fun. I think it looks stupid, frankly.
Mm-hmm. As do I.
All that in mind, will I be getting one of each? You could bet your house on it.
The really odd thing though about this is that, like, when you look at the Pacific, of course the LA one, it's like they're already black and white. So to me this just looks like a practice jersey for LA or some inter squad practice thing. And
the Coyotes one.
The Vegas one is also
stupid.
Yeah, is really stupid. But I gotta say, when you look at it, again, I think the ones with the primary colors at Calgary, Vancouver, those look the best. The logo really pops. But you look at the Oil, you look at Anaheim, it's like oof. But I will gotta say, out of the ones from the Pacific, the one that really pops to me the most for some reason is your Yotes.
Yeah, I was going to say I like the white logo with the colored accent as opposed to the other way around. I don't know why. I just think it looks sharp. And
it's called negative space.
There you go.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if
every day. Rocket went to art school. So.
Well, it just makes me wonder if the other teams, like the Oilers and the Ducks, if they should have went the same way, if they inverted those.
The Oilers did invert, though. That is the inverted logo.
Well, then they shouldn't have inverted. Then it was a bad choice.
I will say, too, leave the picture up here for me.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that these pictures, obviously, they're taken with a nice camera. They're shopped up like you wouldn't believe in order to pop. I imagine once we see the real deal out on the ice on TV, or if you're fortunate enough to go to the game, I think it'll look a little different. And I think if people aren't really fans of it, I think it'll look better. And if we can just pop over back to the Sharks one really quick. So that shade of teal, AJ, does it remind you of anything?
It's I can't put my finger on it. What is it? Oh, wait. I think I know where you're going with this.
That's all. Can of corn, AJ.
All right. Are we not talking? Are we not discussing? You know what? We'll save this for next week because got an interview scheduled for that. There could be a lot of fun info coming out next week, is what I'm saying. So anyway, can of corn, baby. Can I ask one more thing though? What was the idea? I'm trying to understand the principle behind, like, okay, you know what we're gonna do when we release these photos here? I think the thing that that would have really set these off is if we just throw them on the ground and take the photo there. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is the point of that?
I think that's probably supposed to be St. Louis's parking lot.
I was just gonna say, you look at the cracked pavement, and it's really capitalizes that St. Louis vibe. So
definitely.
St. Louis, that is not ubiquitous to St. Louis, my friend. Take a drive around San Jose. The roads look the same.
No. I've heard St. Louis is a dump. So
St. Louis is yeah.
They're the shock absorber industry of the capital of the world.
It's a fine suburb of Nashville. That's all I have to say.
Let's just say everybody thought the city was going to have to clean up San Jose last year. They're going to have to put in some yeoman's work on St. Louis. We'll say that.
Oh man, Nashville fans are going to have a field day with it.
Jeez.
I'm telling you, like, anytime that St. Louis fans have to travel to Nashville, they trash Nashville. Doesn't matter if it's for a football game or for a hockey game. Like, they just trash it. So,
and I mean, and if you ever have taken the time to Google St. Louis food, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Well, here, hold on. See, this is the thing. 'Cause if I remember correctly, weren't last year's where it was like they were floating in water?
You're talking about the launch, right?
Yeah, well, essentially the same thing. That when Adidas first released, when they first released. Okay, so we've done. This is almost okay. We're doing like a whole like fire, earth, water, like motif. Like next year, they're all going to be in
kind
space.
Of, not really, because this one was a whole the whole water thing was like these recycled plastics that were pulled out of the ocean, kind of thing.
The Parley style, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to say that the stuff that they use to like fix. All these jerseys are going to be used to fix potholes in St. Louis when we're done playing the game. Give me a break with this.
AJ, do you have all the jerseys queued up?
No, just
a couple.
Just to release every one of them.
No, just the Pacific. No, I don't. Dude, we're we focus on the Sharks here, so just the Pacific ones.
Somebody does.
Sorry, I just wanted to see if you had the Flyers one queued up, but that's okay.
No. Although those all suck too. Let's move on from that. It should be fun. Should be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see if anybody else bags out besides Ovi and Fleury between now and the All-Star weekend. So moving on.
Silverberg bagged out.
Oh, figures.
But that's because his wife is in labor. So
okay, that I'll give you a pass.
So yeah,
that I'll give you a pass. I figured the other thing with Ovi, he just wants a drunken weekend, to be honest. He's like, wants to relive Stanley Cup stuff. Anyway, Joonas Donskoi got killed earlier this week. I mean, Ryan Lindgren, dear Lord. Dude, Donskoi got pasted. And there's a couple things I want to get into this. First, Nazem Kadri answers the bell, goes over, beats the shit out of Lindgren, and there was a quick step up. I haven't really seen that from the Sharks this year. I'm not expecting to, but I'm just saying that was definitely an answering of the bell. Now, the weird thing about this is, first off, like Department of Player Safety says they're going to hold a hearing. And then, like, a day later, they tweet out, after further review, we've decided that a hearing isn't warranted in this situation. I mean, Jerk, are you, should that have been a hearing? Or do you think, in the words of Pierre Maguire, it was a clean, hard hit?
You said hard, and I thought of a corn dog.
I'm so glad I wasn't the only one.
That was last week's show.
I don't know. It's tough because it's definitely like he did hit Donskoi in the head, right? But it's one of those situations, and it's based on the verbiage of the rule book, right, where the head was not targeted. It's a situation where Donskoi is looking down, he's making the pass, and then comes up at the last second, and it's just unfortunate timing. And I think good on Nazem Kadri for answering the bell, as you said, but I don't know. I mean, I think maybe just the fact that you went through the whole hoopla of saying there would be a hearing, I think maybe you just throw a fine because of the severity of the situation. But to me, it didn't look like something that was targeted. It looked like, there was a type of hit that was lined up, and then when it was too late to get out of the way, the positioning changed, and there was nothing he could do about it.
See, and this is my point. This is what I wanted to get into. I'm glad you picked up on this, Rocket. This is the part that gets me. He's going to get a hearing because of what happened.
Yeah.
And then time goes by. We've looked a little harder at it. We decided, not going to do a hearing. Yeah. And it just, that to me, the walk back, I thought was BS. Like, at the very least, you could have just said, okay, look, we're not going to fine you. We're not going to do anything, but just we're going to keep the whole hearing thing because we're going to look like total idiots on Twitter or if we try to walk this back. So we're just going to, but don't worry, you're not going to get anything. Like, that would have been okay.
Mm-hmm. But when have they ever been like, don't do this because we'll look like total idiots? They're just like, we look like total idiots. That's our brand.
Yeah, okay, you make a good point as well. Maybe it was somebody in this back. Hey, everybody thinks we're idiots. You want to know how we can really piss people off? Watch this. And then they're like, yeah, after further review, we don't need... Okay, anyway, whatever. Yeah. Oh, hey, more firings. More firings, everybody. Nashville fires Laviolette, places him with John Hines, ensuring that Nashville may not ever win again.
Well, it's funny because they found a way to win. So good on them. They've won 2 in a row. Hey, now.
John Hines has been in Tahiti this entire time.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, is this one of the usual honeymoon periods?
It could be. I mean, I don't know. I think Nashville is like the Sharks, where their roster is way better than the way they were playing. Mm-hmm. And I would even argue that Nashville is better than the Sharks, and so the fact that they were underperforming really surprised me. So I think this is just a matter of, things coming back around to the way they're supposed to be. I mean, if I've said it before, I'll stand by it. I think if Nashville can get their power play fixed, they're going to win the Stanley Cup. So
I just want to see all these people going, dude. Okay, so we know everybody and their mother, it feels like, looked at the Sharks situation this year, and they just keep pointing to what happened in St. Louis. And it's, hey, that doesn't matter. Remember St. Louis last year? Not taking into account that that's like the first time ever in NHL history that's ever happened. It's a complete anomaly, but everybody's going to go, oh, well, the Sharks can pull that up. I just want to see all the people that sit there and go, Laviolette was a great coach or whatever, but, Pekka Rinne never scored a goal when Laviolette was here.
Oh.
That's what I want to see.
Oh.
Everybody talks about how St. Louis came from the cellar to win the Stanley Cup, right? I'm waiting for the team who holds the President's Trophy for the first 2/3 of the season. I want to see them miss the playoffs. That's what I'm waiting for. You know what I mean?
I would like that. I would like that. I would like that a lot. Yes.
God, that sounds like something that would happen to the Sabres.
Absolutely. All right, let's burn through some more stuff around the NHL. We mentioned Hines. So the New Jersey Devils have fired GM Ray Shero 6 months after trading for PK Subban and sending out Taylor Hall. Hockey jerk.
Yeah, I think in this one, I think they allowed, Ray Shero. I mean, Ray Shero did his best to build a contender. I think he ended up making a mess of it, though, and when he tried to clean up his own mess, I think he made it worse. So, why not get a different voice in there? I mean, New Jersey goes through these ebbs and flows where every time they're up, it's like, this is it, finally on the right track.
We got Mirko freaking Mueller, man. This is the time.
And then they stumble down a flight of stairs, right? So it's like, it makes sense. You get a new voice. You see maybe the new guy, he's got a different idea of who's valuable and who's not. And you go from there. I mean, I think of New Jersey now, and it's kind of hard to remember when they were, the benchmark for a while, remember? And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, now they're like the laughing stock. It's like, New Jersey's the eighth seed? Like in what, like in December? Like, like, so I think a new voice will do good for them.
I very much remember early 2000s where it felt like the Sharks were trying to pattern their franchise around what Jersey was doing.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying on that. What else we got here? See, this is going to be like the hockey jerk time because he's the one that came up with all these fun little things. So
Say it, AJ. Say it so I can tell everybody how wrong they were.
oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Here we go. All right. Here comes one Mr. Hockey Jerk to espouse his wisdom on one Ilya Kovalchuk.
So, I mean, I don't want to say I was right or anything. But if we recall, if we go back here, if we go back, we check the tapes, we look at the receipts here, which I do have pulled up. Ilya Kovalchuk put up 9 points in 17 games this year with LA, and that was in spite of being relegated to the fourth line, regularly benched, and his head coach just generally hating him. So you think, okay, if he can do okay in a shitty situation, how's he going to do in a good situation? And now it's a small sample size, obviously, but 4 points in 4 games with Montreal. He's on the top line. He led them in ice time, if you're listening live yesterday on Saturday against the Ottawa Senators. So it's obviously been a huge breath of fresh air, but he's also playing for a coach that doesn't hate him, as I said. Early returns are looking good. So, over the last 2 years, every time somebody's told me I was wrong for liking Ilya Kovalchuk, I just want to say, where are you at now?
Ouch. Continuing with the Hockey Jerk segment of this. And now, here's Hockey Jerk to explain to you why Matthew Tkachuk is a pussy.
Oh, man. Okay, so I think this is candidacy for Game of the Year right here.
Yeah!
So it's Edmonton versus Calgary, right? Calgary's at home. They're wearing their beautiful third jersey, so it's already like it's a perfect night. It's the Hockey Night in Canada late game. Jim Houston, Craig Simpson, Scott Oak, the whole team is there. So everything's great, and it's your typical Edmonton Calgary game. A lot of goals. I think it was 3-3 at the end of the first period. So it was bang bang real quick. A lot of hard hitting, obviously, and Matthew Tkachuk. He likes to stir the pot a little bit. He's a guy who does things. And he caught Zach Kassian with a clean hit thrice. And I know there are some folks on Twitter who are saying, how can you say those are clean? Well, no head contact, no charging. The only thing that Matt Tkachuk is guilty of is hitting a guy whose helmet is not strapped on properly. So Tkachuk runs Kassian down, and, after the second hit, Kassian gets pissed off, grabs Tkachuk by the collar, slammed him on the ice twice, which is incredibly dangerous, but also punched him in the head while he's on the ice, which is equally as dangerous. And, I saw a lot of Oilers fans and we'll say correspondents talking about how Tkachuk is a turtle and he should have answered the bell there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of hard to fight somebody when they're grabbing you by the back of your sweater and slamming you down on the ice. I mean, to me, it's a little hard to get your gloves off in that situation. Again, I don't know, just a little. It's also kind of hard to fight somebody you're not looking at, but again, who knows? So yeah, and then game ends, Calgary wins, and they're first in the Pacific Division. And you think that's it, and then it spills over into the post game. They're asking Zach Kassian about it, and he's talking about how Tkachuk targeted him, which, I mean, Kassian is a capable guy. I don't know why he's so concerned about being allegedly targeted. But, then Kassian said, he said Tkachuk was a good player, but that he's a pussy and he needed to answer the bell. And that's not me trying to be funny. That's the actual verbiage that Zach Kassian used. And, made a mention how 2 years ago Tkachuk turtled and didn't want to fight, and now he did it again, allegedly. And so, not to be outdone, Tkachuk whipped out one of my favorite quotes this season where he said if he doesn't want to get hit, he should get off the tracks. I think that's an astounding quote. And then he followed that up by saying, he can be rattled by that all he wants, but we'll take the 2 points and we'll take the first seed in the division. And I'm like, right answer, buddy.
Drop that mic. Go home. Damn. I like it.
Yeah, it was a hell of a game. And for those who want to review it in a way that's not me reciting it, the Sportsnet YouTube channel put up a 6-minute video of the entire sequence, so you can check that out.
Me like you.
6 minutes. Ooh.
Yes, that's going to be fun. I like that. I got to say, I'm enjoying the, shall we say, that we're seeing less restraint during the post-game comments. I'm liking a little bit, especially where like with when Tortorella got fined $20K for just fucking technology and I prefer the less restraint. Again, I'm one of those guys that says, you know what, we need every player mic'd up, and there needs to be like a bonus thing for center ice that, we've already got the option where you can like choose cameras or whatever. I want to like be, okay, so for the second period, I don't want to hear any commentators. I just want the on ice mics. And
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Oh, dude, that would be, do you know how much money the NHL and center ice with DirecTV, whatever, how much these people would make if that was an option, like $100 add-on?
Well,
Not only that.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I kind of almost wonder if the NHL maybe like secretly is getting murmurings about, hey, maybe we should maybe not necessarily encourage these kinds of interviews post game, but definitely not penalize them as much unless it's going to be something outrageously penalized, because then it will draw more press or like media attention to it. But like if they know, if the NHL knows that these post game interviews are getting people a little bit more buzzed and excited because there's a little bit more contention between individual players or teams, whatever. Maybe they think it's good for the sport. Maybe they think it's something they should do.
I don't know, but I like it. Finally, a couple of quick notes for the All-Star Game. Pat Giaretti is replacing Silverberg, as Hockey Jerk mentioned earlier. Quinn Hughes, David Perron, TJ Oshie, and Mitch Marner voted last man in, as if that was a huge shock. And finally, Justin Williams has re-signed with Carolina.
Shocker.
Yeah. Rocket, where were you when Justin Williams re-signed with Carolina?
Man, I don't know. I was probably like in the living room or something. Like, this is it's Mike Fisher all over again,
Yep.
Like, is this a trend also that we're going to begin to see again, is like players who maybe don't have 81 games in the tank plus playoff materials left in them, but they're still like, oh, I'm here. Like, if, for example, if things had gone differently for the Sharks this season and they'd still been in a good playoff stop, and they still were as good on the ice as they are on paper, and say maybe, they had room on the cap and they had room for whatever. And, at the trade deadline, they just signed Patty because, they're going to go for a cup, like, would that have happened? Because I kind of feel like it would have.
Could have.
It's trending that way.
I mean, as long as you get the contract signed before the trade deadline, you're set.
Yeah.
So, we, like you said, Rocket, we saw it with Mike Fisher. We've seen it with Justin Williams now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I've definitely kind of joked around, especially when the Sharks have gone, on long playoff runs, right? Both the Stanley Cup final and the Western Conference final. It's like, we've made it all the way, this far, and it's like, ugh, now we got to go through the whole, process of starting over from the bottom. And it's like, like you said, if you are in a situation where like maybe you can't hang with 82 games, maybe you do sign up for the last 19 games of the season and just save all that energy. I mean, if the team's good enough, why not? You know what I mean? Like, you look at what Justin Williams did last year, like, definitely to me looked like a guy who had enough in the tank for a full 82 game season. Mm-hmm. And instead he's coming in at the halfway point. So when you think about it, like, Carolina's already a good team. Now they're getting Justin Williams back. It's kind of like having a trade deadline rental, but for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's do one more little quick one before we're out of here.
Ooh, Barracuda.
So the Barracuda had themselves quite a day today because they cannot figure out how the hell to play the Stockton Heat and win. I don't know why. They can't pull it off. However, they did put out some crisp jerseys for today's game. Holy hell. Go check the SJ Barracuda social media platforms. Damn. Just damn. And a friend of mine actually got 2 of them. I don't know for a fact that there's a trade coming up with me and this guy. I just know it to be true.
Yeah, I do know somebody who got the Blickfeld one, and I'm infinitely jealous. I was monitoring that auction, but it got a little too high for me, so I had to bow out of it.
Yep. It was diving into Hockey Jerks poker money.
Oh.
I don't play poker. What are you talking about?
So the second of the the series of 3 bobbleheads came out, of course, today as well. What was today? Today was featuring McCarthy and someone.
Oh, it was McCarthy and
First one was Timo and Dell. The last one, I believe, is like Heed and LeBanc. Today was McCarthy.
Oh, it was McCarthy and Jake Middleton.
There you go, mids. There you go. So anyway, go check that out. Barracuda also pummeled the crap out of who was it that they destroyed 9-0 the other day?
Ontario Reign.
Yeah, which they owed him because Ontario beat the crap out of the Barracuda early on in this season. So nice to just drop a bomb.
Parody.
And the Ontario Reign are a decent team this year in the AHL, but this is the second time they've allowed 9 goals to the Barracuda this year. So
what you're saying is LA is going to need to shop around for defense because they're not growing any on the farm.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
okay.
if you look at their top prospects coming in, a lot of them are forwards, but I'll say this. Some of those guys are pretty scary.
So what kind of never mind. I'll ask it later. This is getting off topic. Go ahead.
And the Barracuda are a weird team, right? Because it's like there are some games where like everybody gets a point and it's a good team win and everybody's dialed in, and then there are other games where it's like whoever's in net like can't stop a basketball, and it's like what happened? Like the Barracuda have 2 separate games where they've scored 9 goals, but there's also 2 separate games where they've conceded 7 or more. So it's like what is happening, right? Couldn't tell you. No idea. They also scored 7 another game this year. And they have a lot of guys who are scoring a lot of points, which is obviously fantastic, but you got to stop the goals too.
True. Sachenko seeing some time. So, I don't know. Could be fun to see how that turns out. Now that the Sharks, at least in 2020, seem to have, I don't know, between Nason Shellman and Karlsson on the 4th line
Solid line.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that line whatsoever, but at this point we're seeing it's like, okay, so we're going to send down Blickfeld, we're going to call up for a deal, and we're probably not going to use him, and then like at this point is the press box for the Sharks like, I don't know, a reward for a Barracuda player who does well? I just don't know if they're going to see any ice time.
As weird as this may sound, I think Radil getting called up to the Sharks is actually indicative of how much of a short leash he has, right? Because you look at Joachim Blickfeld, right? His choices are being an extra forward for the Sharks or playing 19 minutes a night for the Barracuda. Which is better, playing 100%. And so Radil getting called up now means he's going from playing to not playing, and if a 29-year-old pending UFA is in the press box, who gives a shit? But you don't want your dynamic offensive weapon who's 20 sitting in the press box.
Exactly. So I'm just trying to think. If they just get him a tray, I think he'd be fine serving all the beverages and hot dogs up in the press box. Just a nice tray. You've like the cigarette girls from those movies in the 50s, where they could just be walking down press row up in the box and Anybody need anything?
M&M's, Swedish fish.
Yes, all of those things. All right. So, again, in case you miss any of these live, which we do every Sunday, you can always catch us on YouTube. Again, the replay will be up momentarily, and on your favorite podcatcher, audio only, of course. Everything on tealtownusa.com. Had a couple of articles run last week and have a couple of interesting articles that are going to be dropping next week. And in fact, front office interview that I'm really looking forward to is coming up in the near future. So check that out. Again, follow us on our social media channels, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. Don't forget we do a kind of a little Discord after hours thing from time to time. So from time to time. And
yeah, 4 hours a night, 5 days a week.
Taking you deep into the morning light. It's the Tealtown USA Discord. So, Rocky Jerk, and hold on, Rocky Jerk.
Hey, we've just become a power couple, and that's our name.
Rocky Jerk and Hockett Backhander.
I've been known to hawk it a few times in my life. So.
Hey now.
I know.
All right, Jesus Christ. Yeah, see, this is the problem when we go too late. Rocket Backhander, where can the people find you on social media and your final thoughts?
Hey, my final thoughts. This team has an identity. You know, they are what they are. I'm a freaking Sharks fan, people. I love them. You know what? My name is Rocket Backhander, and if you missed me, I encourage you to put it in reverse and try again. You can find me. You can find me hanging out over on Twitter, over at rbackhander76. That's capital R, capital B, little backhander76. Or you can check out my photographs over on Instagram, Rocket Backhander, one word. And if you want to avoid me, stay away from both of those places and probably this podcast too. AJ?
All right. And Jockey Herc.
Hey, what's up? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna say what I've said the last few weeks. The Sharks are not out to the woodshed just yet.
Despite what some people on social media may tell you.
Of course. I mean, the Sharks may be only 7 points out of a playoff spot, but if you take what they're on pace for, then it means that they're out of the playoffs 2 months ago, and we should stop caring because, God forbid, any other team besides the Sharks go on a losing streak. Hey, now. Mm-hmm. So if you like my optimism, I'm not saying the Sharks are going to make the playoffs. I'm just saying that they still can. If you agree with me, you should follow me on Twitter at hockey_jerk. That big thing's happening. I know I say it every week and nothing happens, but you know what? Following me is a big thing in itself, so you should do that. Want to say quick hello to Coca-Cola. Please sponsor me. No free ads.
Every week with this shit.
I'm just saying, I drink their damn drink every week. Not once do they kick me back anything.
I have a Starbucks tattoo, and I've never gotten a latte out of it, jerk.
Well, I don't have anything to say.
All right. Shouts out to the Russian River Brewing Company. And oh, dear Lord. I'm AJ_Strong on the social media. Find me those places. Gonna echo what Jerk said is, look, the team isn't out of it yet. Are a lot of the indicators pointing to yes? You can make that argument. However, trade deadline is not here yet. And, a big indicator of whether the team is doing well or poorly is, are you a buyer or are you a seller? So what was that deadline cap going?
Or are you in the cellar?
I
that too.
So again, for reference, trade deadline February 24th. I'm always really bothered by the fact that it's a weekday because people work on weekdays, but that's why you got PTO, right? So what? So as it stands right now, the Sharks have $5.141063 million in cap space, in deadline cap space, excuse me. And obviously that number fluctuates depending on how much money you have on the books and that sort of thing. And the Sharks have kind of been playing this game all year where when they have a long layoff, they'll send some non-waivers guys down and then call them back up. And nothing to be alarmed by. It's just a matter of saving every penny you can. And, you keep accruing cap space every day. So
And
just keep at it.
And provided that the Sharks put Couture on IR, what does that do for their cap number?
Well, so if they put him on injured reserve, nothing. It just opens up a roster spot. But if they put him on long-term injured reserve, the Sharks can add an $8 million player to the roster.
Now what?
But-
But explain that though. Like how long? What's the minimum? What's the max on LTIR?
So LTIR, the maximum money that you can take. It's very confusing. A lot of people think that when you LTIR a guy, that's how much cap space you get, but that's not true. When you LTIR a guy, that's how much you can go over the cap. You're probably thinking that means the same thing. You're right, but phrasing is everything. So if the Sharks put Logan Couture on LTIR, which I don't think they will because he's only – I mean, they could, but I don't think they will because he's only gone for 6 weeks. They could add up to $8 million in salary, in cap hit, excuse me. So if the Sharks are in the hunt without Couture, maybe that's something that they can do. And then obviously, as you may all know, cap hit doesn't matter in the playoffs. You can load up your roster with as many guys and dollars as you want. So, again, because he's only out for 6 weeks, I don't think he goes on LTIR. But if the Sharks wanted to put him there, they could. So, we'll see. That might be something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Considering we know he's out for 6 weeks and he's not even on normal injured reserve right now.
Yeah, which was a little odd to me, but that's just me.
He's on abnormal injured reserve.
Right? Perhaps he's in New York talking to the Rangers about goaltending. Who knows?
Oh, Lord. My God. That's not funny, AJ.
Okay. So with that, thanks for tuning in, showing up, saying hello. We will catch you all next week for show 89. Again, live next Sunday. And join us on the Discord momentarily because we might have to talk about a colossal screwing of the pooch thanks to a football team.
Ugh, I don't want to talk about football.
See, I know. Thanks to a football team in Houston, a colossal screwing
You
of
said the
pooch.
letter F, and I thought we were going somewhere else.
Oh, hey now. So with that, everybody, thanks for coming. Thanks for playing. We will see you all for show 89 next Sunday. And with that, I say keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. And we will see you all next week. Get well soon, Kelsey.